Come with soft focus to San Francisco. Frisco is a beautiful city which has been perversely built on a series of treacherous cliffs as part of a surrealistic parlor game by Spanish colonialists. Its inhabitants have developed the strongest legs and buttocks of any race in the world and see life as a thrilling carnival ride. Here, beatniks rub elbows with hippies and long hairs in a diverse and aromatic melting pot. It's a place that typically illuminates the path for America on a variety of social issues. Foremost among its inhabitants is Jello Biafra, singer, spoken word performer, free speech activist. I can't wait to speak with him.
Soft focus.
Oh, it is a privilege to be at a Doers Scotch sponsored event.
Yeah, in a comedy club.
And to be able to set foot on this stage in an event that is not controlled by Live Nation.
It's like a pantheon. New deities, Clear Channel and the Live Nation. And
I just hope it doesn't get to the point like it was in the old Soviet evil empire and the Eastern Bloc, where in order to play music in public at all without being arrested, you had to be certified as a professional musician by the government. And if you weren't certified professional after auditioning for bureaucrats, and you played in front of other people, you could be arrested. And in some cases have the living daylights beat out of you.
But
Government music.
What if you got to be one of the bureaucrats and you could like beat the musicians, like Kid Rock, let's say? Wouldn't that be exciting?
I think the first thing I'd ask Kid Rock is what happened to the master of an album that Wesley Willis handed him that he never heard back from him on.
Oh, really?
Yet another of the many lost Wesley albums floating around out there.
Oh,
I mean, some of them he'd have a hell ride in his apartment and the voices hammering him in the head, and he'd just break a CD player, smash his headphones, or a DAT master and throw them all on the roof of a neighboring apartment building.
Crazy.
I mean, it's a shame too with the new, the new regime, or at least it's supposed to be a new regime taking over after our so-called election, that Wesley is not still with us, because he'd make such a wonderful press secretary for Obama. What about hanging out with a terrorist all those years ago? Suck a mountain goat's ass with Cool Whip. That would be great.
That would be good. Well, speaking of poetry, we're in North Beach, and this is the home of the beat generation. And Rod McEwen had a song called "I'm a Member of the Beat Generation." Anyway, Richard Hell covered the song by Rod McEwen and renamed it Blank Generation and started punk.
But I thought what he was talking about, the blank generation, was how everybody else in the sober, stupid, boring 70s that only a complete moron would want to bring back any part of in any form. That was the blank generation. So I was going through this phase that never quite ended of indulging in an art form known as yelling at people from cars. And this was still when I was growing up in Boulder, Colorado. I'd go down to the new Shishi Orgo Deco organic candles, $50, that mall in Boulder. And there were all the nice new Boulder people who were poisoning the town and rolling the window. Oh my God, I'm stuck in the middle of the blank generation. And that was what I thought it meant.
Yeah.
They're all the blank generation.
But you didn't know it was a novelty song of a novelty song.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's what maybe we didn't know, that punk was novelty music.
I mean, there's much better things to yell at people from cars too.
Well, that sounds pretty
once
good.
this Woody Hayes or General Patton admiring football coach from the University of Colorado. I had to grow up in a college football town too. Ooh, no, yeah, there's a lot of that too, still is. But there he was crossing the sidewalk, the crosswalk in front of my high school, roll out window, "You deserve to die." And then, I mean, even now, sometimes there's people who really need that done to them. They just need something to shake up their brains or whatever. Well, the best ones I got around here in years was just, a bunch of dot-com-y yuppies and their fancy threads. Not that different from yours, actually, but at least you look good in it. But Salvation Army, where all fine clothes are sold. But anyway, they're crossing, I think it was Mission Street, roll down the window. Can I burn your suit, please? God, they were mad. Oh, they were mad. Mission accomplished. Just point at them and start laughing. And there's nothing they can do. What did they laugh at me for? God damn you!
Well, so this is interesting because this is, in a sense, what you're talking about are the gesticulations of the punk culture. And punk, you could say
it's another route from punk, yelling at people from cars. Come to think of it, the Dead Kennedy song, I Killed Children, was originally something I yelled at families from cars.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
that's how the song started.
Well, I was wondering, because punk is schizophrenic. It could be described as a schizophrenic condemnation and simultaneous celebration of trash culture, right?
That's one element, but you're getting a little academic on me there.
But what I want to ask you is, like, you do love trash. That's what you love. You love it, don't you? I mean,
it's one of the things I love.
Yeah. I mean, I know that the music that you make often, condemns this kind of trash culture, but at the same time, there's an evidence.
No, it condemns stupidity that interferes and threatens trash culture.
Like, how do you mean? Like,
well, just satirizing stupid behavior. There's a new one that will hopefully be on the album that'll hopefully come out by spring if we actually get it done, about what's happened in a couple different waves in San Francisco. It's happening again, so now the song isn't old after all, called .com Monte Carlo. The opening line, I think, is, where do they come from? Why are they here? High-tech piranhas with Bluetooth barnacle ears. That's just one part. And then the third verse is like, what is the third verse? We haven't learned the song quite yet. Valet parking signs on Valencia. Want to chase them down the street with a chainsaw. Trespass their snobby restaurants, eat the food off their plates, then cover them with honey and release thousands of bees.
It almost rhymes, too.
I don't care if it rhymes.
No, but
I'm pretty good at making things not rhyme, but work when I have to.
No, I'm not into rhyming either.
I got to admire the people who can. Freestyle rhymes. Rappers doing freestyle. All them white supremacists who say that, African Americans are somehow intellectually inferior to white people, make them freestyle and see what happens and see who's stupid.
But have you ever heard that that auctioneering? That's probably a lot of white supremacists do that.
On the other hand, can any auctioneer speak as fast as HR from the Bad Brains sings at times? He's amazing with that.
That's true.
He's absolutely amazing.
Well, that's interesting because HR and the Bad Brains were progressive music fans. They loved, prog. And I was talking.
Weren't they Fusion a band before they became the Bad
Oh
Brains?
yeah, Fusion,
Jazz
prog,
Fusion,
yeah. And they said, but Daryl from the Bad Brains told me that, when we heard punk, we thought it was a new progressive, prog. We thought it was progressive. We were like, wow, we can play really fast, and we can play fast. But you play with a lot of really virtuoso musicians. You're unlike other punk impresario.
Oh, that was more luck than anything else. And at first I saw it as a hindrance when I first showed up here. It's like, oh wow, the Stooges all met and couldn't play anything, and then they became the Stooges. And the same thing happened with Pere Ubu, and then I kept running into people who not only, knew how to play, quote unquote, and had experience, but at the time were a little bit snobby about it. Yeah, and in some cases it had to be broken down at times. No, that fill is not going to help the song. It's going to hurt the song and make a perfectly good Dead Kennedy song sound like Journey. No. Dictator. Well, somebody had to be the dictator or nobody would care about this stuff.
Yeah.
Now, as the music grew and evolved, And especially after I didn't have to teach the band songs, attempting to play a guitar myself, which is something you don't ever want to have to listen to. Klaus finally said, look, you can sing on key enough, just sing us the parts. And then I was a free man, because then I could do more and more intricate stuff and put more stuff into the songs, knowing they could play it. And it was that point I thought, oh my God, if I stick with these guys instead of hunt for people who are less technical or whatever, we might actually come up with something that's ours and not just another punk band at the Mabuhay.
But one thing that really I think is a shock for any fan of your music, I know it was for me, is when we first saw you, how just good looking you are. I mean, seriously. Because, and I'm wondering, but I'm wondering, in punk, was that in punk rock, was that a kind of liability? Because you hid your image pretty well. And then we'd see you in a video and be like,
well, being too self-loathing, never really look at myself as being all that gorgeous, especially now.
Well, you could really capitalize on your symmetrical features.
Like my boob job.
You're somebody who's
44A, not bad for a guy. Probably
Well, anyway.
a 42 or a 40, I don't know.
But no. You never use your image on your work.
The reason I don't use my image on my work is that as a vinyl junkie from clear back in the 8th grade, I picked up many records on hunches because I thought the cover was cool.
Yeah.
And it turned out to be some of the coolest music I ever heard in my life, and I still do that sometimes. And so what I wanted to leave behind was what would happen to somebody if they had no idea who Dead Kennedys or I was or Lard was or anything else, and just see one of these, and what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
And then they look at it and they see the titles and they, this might be for me.
Yeah.
And so many people over the years have come up to me and said that they just picked up one of my things at random. Even sometimes were so disgusted with the art they had to look at it and brought it home and changed their lives, so to speak.
But think about how many people picked up a Ricky Nelson record and thought that was, I mean, I guess what I mean
Those
is...
are the kind of people I've devoted my life to not hanging out with. Most people my
Traveling
age,
Man?
I'm 50 now, I mean, what the Stooges or the Damned or Johnny Cash or whatever would mean to us, Fleetwood Mac's Rumors album means to them.
Yeah.
They are not our people.
Yeah. I would like to say, well, your stage persona is very different than any other person that I've seen. And I was wondering if you
Another
were involved
magic
in...
accident.
Yeah, how did that evolve? Tell me about it.
Well, you were going to ask if I was involved in something else.
Well, I want to ask you about theater, because I've heard that you were involved in theater, and I wanted to ask you about that, because that's one aspect of rock and roll that seems really sort of abandoned. People are like really disdainful of drama and theater. But,
I don't think that's happened recently.
well, maybe from
I
what
mean, one
was
more
interested-
way to get a stupid, obedient workforce is to emphasize all the way through school that the most important things are to succeed at sports and be popular, and for girls to be pretty and be popular.
Yeah.
And the theater people at Boulder High School were outcasts of the rest of the school.
That's what I'm talking about, this like institutionalized disdain for theater that I think, in the 60s, I think people...
But corporate theater's bigger than ever. It's just that it depends on what kind of theater the masses should be allowed to be influenced by.
Yeah.
What passes for news in this country, that's largely theater.
Yeah.
Very few people who are the talking heads in broadcast news are journalists anymore. You got to look like a Barbie doll, or you got to look hunky but not so hunky that you look threatening. It's got to be like Guy Next Door hunky. And it's one step away from that, from Barbie doll newscasters and whatnot, to coming out with the Viper Barbie doll, but saying, isn't she pretty? Isn't she great? And she could be our next president.
Yeah.
And you had Sarah Palin, who is entirely a creature of theater.
Yeah.
And television. She's going to be bigger than Reagan as a result.
Yeah, what was your role in this election? I know that you were an activist for Ralph Nader.
This time I voted for Cynthia McKinney, the Green Party nominee.
She's pretty righteous. Yeah.
I voted for Ralph the 3 elections before that. I'd rather vote for something I want and not get it than vote or work for something I don't want and get it. Obama comes across as a really likable guy, but what worries me is, you know, if Obama does turn out to be another Bill Clinton and people put all this emotion and hope into this guy who turns out to be another deal maker instead of a leader and just kind of continues the same Reagan, Bush, Clinton, you know, corporate feudalism type policies and screws everybody even more, it's going to break the hearts of a whole generation of people who are so energized right now, and they may never participate again. They'll just turn into the next me generation, the next Uber yuppies who just, you know, they want their stuff and their condo and their artifact children and their SUVs and fuck everyone else.
Well, I did want to ask you about leadership, because you have taken on kind of a leadership role in the Senate. You were thrust into it maybe, but I mean, do you see yourself as in that kind of role at all, or like?
You know, I'm an artist. I'm not a politician.
Yeah.
And you know, the freedom you have if you have strong opinions and feelings and know some stuff about what's going on you'd like other people to know as an artist instead of a politician is that you don't have to be like a politician who says different things to different people in order to get them to give them money or vote for them. As an artist, you can say what you really believe and what you really think is going on. What means more to me is when somebody comes up to me, they say, yeah, you really inspired me. I quit majoring in business and became this instead, and I'm really happy, much happier doing this. And so for that, yeah, I mean, that's what keeps me going in a way, is when people come up to me and instead of saying, oh, you're God, sign this or whatever, or worse, oh, Dead Kennedy's so good, I loved it so much in high school. But I wish my followers would be more obedient.
Well, one thing...
Especially when it comes to buying my new music instead of just celebrating my old music and, oh, it freed my mind, but now my mind is so closed I won't listen to anything new.
Yeah.
You notice that disease, right?
Yeah.
Especially you go to England now. I mean, back when we were coming of age, even though you're probably younger than I am, it's still the same situation. You really looked to England for like really cool stuff like you've never heard before that was so good and so powerful. What has come out of England lately that does anything? Now what you get over there, you either have DJs or tribute bands. Lots and lots and lots of tribute bands. In one venue where I did a spoken word show, I figured, no, nobody's going to believe me unless I tear down every poster I can get my hands on in this club. Here's a band called Talon, who is celebrating 10 years together as an Eagles cover band. What kind of mental illness would make somebody not just want to listen to the Eagles voluntarily, but play those songs night after night? You go, get in the van, we're going to go to another British turd town and play Eagles songs for retards.
So you think rock and roll is becoming like a Civil War recreation?
Oh, I see what you're saying with the tribute bands. No, Civil War recreations require a lot of people. To do it all. I know somebody who's into that scene. It's really funny. I watched the Gettysburg movie with him, and aside from, well, it was a good movie, but he was also saying, yeah, I know that dude. That dude's a dick. Like that. You know, I'm wondering whether they all want to be the same general and then they duke it out. And no, nobody wants to be the grunts. They always want to be the generals.
Oh, yeah. It's just like rock and roll.
I mean, why would anybody want, okay, I'm really tired today, I'm just going to play the corpse. My father, the history buff, put it, visualize being one of only 2 or 3 farmhouses in the area, and suddenly there's 40,000 dead people and the wounded are in your house.
Yeah. That's all, without no running water either. So what is it about, because you do like some, what's called popular music, but there's a demarcation line where it like stops being good to you. And is there any way you can distill it into a pithy?
The difference, I guess, is, especially with pretty pop music, do I feel the magic?
Yeah.
Or do I not?
It's a feeling.
Yeah. And the feeling I get from that kind of stuff is just that this is just crap I don't want to listen to.
Yeah.
There's no scientific or academic reason for it.
Yeah.
It just sucks. The thing I take great pride in being part of the early punk uprising. It was never a movement, but was that we helped burn down the Hotel California.
Yeah. But is there some kind of, because I've been thinking about this a lot, about how music from the, like this music. And,
Well, just don't let it interfere with enjoying music. Don't get so academic you don't dig it anymore.
No, I'm not an academic at all.
Or get
I'm
so
just trying to-
professional as a musician that you tour so much you don't like music anymore. Or sign with a major label and get screwed and then wind up a junkie who doesn't like music anymore.
Yeah. Well, how do you avoid bitterness? That kind of bitterness, that kind of like low hating music, and because people have.
I guess because I've just done it my own. I had the, been able to build, well, let's call it a platform in the digital age, for a platform for being able to do what I want to do my way, for better and for worse, and still be able to pay my bills, which is a very rare privilege.
Yeah.
And so that alone, it also is pressure in a way, because if, it blows me away in a way that people half my age or even a third my age are still interested in what I do and what I say. That didn't happen to everybody. Even some people who had gazillion selling record singles or albums, that didn't happen for them. But what it also means is, okay, if somebody's still going to be interested and they think this highly of what I do or what I've done, I damn well better make it good.
Yeah.
I also like to stress that in some ways, I'm a decadent rock musician. Deal with it. I'm not as pure as a driven snow.
Yeah. Well, right on.
I like my sick jokes.
Well, I think that's a really good closing statement.
We forgot about theater.
Well, it doesn't matter. I think,
Yeah, but if it weren't for what I was involved. When I wasn't involved with all the theater and method acting and whatnot way back when, it wouldn't have made me the kind of performer that.
so you were, yeah. So
Yeah,
you did the
yeah.
method and stuff.
I had real tough directors who didn't do like Santa Claus Goes to the Prom type plays. They stress the Stanislavski stuff, and we're going to take on real plays, go up against the whole community. But it became a very spiritual thing to be able to kind of leave your body to some degree in this character, partly of your own creation, come back in. That's really cool. I occasionally hit that during a music performance, but it's harder because the songs are about different things. They're not always sung from the perspective of the character.
Yeah.
But it did give me I didn't realize for years how much it influenced me as a lyricist and all the you were there graphic scenarios I use. It came from that. There's one called Caped Crusader, which is inside the mind of a suicide bomber. And it's one of the most emotional things to do on stage I've ever done, just knowing what's going on. And I mixed in my own lyrics, quotes at least attributed in the Western press to Muhammad Atta, and quotes from John Ashcroft. And I dare anybody to figure out who's who in there. It just stunned me, some of Ashcroft's, quotes, from his Christian fanaticism and his Pentecostalism, how close it was to Muhammad Atta. So with the theatrical stuff and the mime stuff, because I always gestured a lot with my hands and got teased for it as a kid, but I didn't see anything wrong with it. It's Weird Voice was another one. But I eventually realized from listening to the records made by Peter Ivers, that's what you go to for when you sing. You don't have to be good, just be unforgettable, and that's what's going to make you good. So basically what you wind up with is somebody with a weird voice who makes a fool out of himself on stage as a bad Iggy Pop crossed with Red Skelton. It took me years to realize the Skelton part. And yet, here we are.
Yeah.
Soft. Soft focus.